Hi, I'm Kerwin Gaines, and welcome back to the agenda. This week, we are fortunate to have our Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long. Welcome to the agenda.
Thank you. It is awesome to be here with you, Kerwin, and to join you on the agenda.
That's right. This is your first time here.
Absolutely, but not my first time viewing.
No, well, thank you. We appreciate you being here. There is a lot going on in the state of Delaware. We're always, talking to you about health and safety and so many other things. And this week, we're going to go over Narcan. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about infrastructure, and we are going to, where I want to start, is to talk about something that's near and dear to you, and that is the paid family leave.
Absolutely, and you are spot on. Working for Delaware for the past couple of decades in the House and the Senate, now as Lieutenant Governor, there is nothing more important than making sure our families have resources that they need, not only their employment, not only the food on the table and good health care, but also when they need time, whether it's a parent to bond with a new baby, or if you're taking care of your parent or a grandmom or a child that's sick, having that leave. Or, I know you in your other hat work with the Department of Defense. I'm a military wife. My husband's a veteran. When someone is called up, needing that time off. So I'm thrilled to be supportive of our two incredible sponsors of paid family medical leave in the Delaware Assembly, Senator McBride and Representative Heffernan, and the whole compadre of legislators who recognize this, along with our governor, the real importance that paid family medical leave has for Delaware families and our economy.
So many businesses, when this first came out, there was a lot of pushback, right? Oh, there's too much money, we're spending too much money. But this is an economic generator that just on my common mind, I feel. Am I right? Am I on the right path?
You are right on. When you look at the data that are studied, and I'm a research professor at the University of Delaware in nursing and science, we looked at the outcomes. Federal Medical Leave Act actually boosted morale, boosted productivity. And so 60% of Delawareans did not have paid family medical leave. To the credit of Senators McBride and Representative Heffernan and all the legislators, they listened to the business community, some of which had some real legitimate concerns, some small business issues, some of the large corporations, but you are spot on. When an individual feels valued and is able to take the necessary time when they've given birth or when they have that family member who's terminally ill, or they get the phone call, which I've had in the middle of the night as a military spouse, that someone is being deployed, they don't have to worry so much about taking that time off that's necessary for their children or the care they need. They ultimately benefit and save actually many millions of dollars per state that has done this. There's been 9 states in the District of Columbia. And again, there was compromise. That is the nice thing about Delaware's General Assembly.
We still have it. When
right?
So many people don't, when we don't have it on a national stage, we have it right here.
And it's coming. Our governor will be signing that, and it's going to be exciting when that day comes. And so for families listening in, again, you buy in, less than 1% of your employment. It's a trust fund set up with employers. Small employers don't have to opt in, but we hope that they do. So again, it's a foot in the door. It's the right direction to go. Premiums start in 2025. It will launch in 2026. I am thrilled to be, supportive of paid family medical leave.
Just one more time, for the small business out there that's worried about this, and you made it very clear, it's an opt-in. They don't have to. We're fortunate enough to have it in the state. But do you foresee this being a big dent in their bottom line? I don't see that it is.
I know from being a policymaker over the years, a lot of times there's a lot of fear initially, and that's why I credit the bill sponsors to listening and making some changes to the bill. I think that the small businesses will find themselves opting in because it makes it competitive. That's what surrounding states, that's what our District of Columbia is doing. And so it's a tight market for employees right now. And the more we can bolster employees, particularly post-COVID, I think it's going to be something that both small and our large businesses that will be implementing this will find it's a real win-win over time.
So unfortunately, the federal government is having trouble getting this through, but we were able to manage this at a state level. Are you optimistic about other things that the Assembly is dealing with, that we're going to have this bipartisanship moving forward and be able to get some of these big bills through?
We do. Delaware is a unique state. I have been fortunate to have the experience of being raised in Sussex, being a representative for Kent and Newcastle County, and being a senator prior to being lieutenant governor. And I have seen the best of Delaware. We're small. We'll go across the street and have a cup of coffee, and in come 20 people that we know. You can't do that in other large states. As the chair of the National Lieutenant Governor Association last year, I can tell you Delaware has been an envy among many of the states because we have a great relationship at all levels of government. And I am very optimistic on issues that matter, whether it's healthcare, issues of early education, issues of higher ed, and also our budget. We've got an incredibly solid budget this year, and I'm very optimistic.
So speaking of budget, and just speaking of money, right?
Yeah.
We're dealing with infrastructure. Right now,
Yes.
there's a lot of infrastructure money out there. And people are worried possibly that this could be a boondoggle or that their issues won't be addressed. What's going on down in Dover to assure that that isn't happening, and what is big on the agenda?
Big things. I know from the congressional level, you have had our Senators Coons and Carper, who managed the infrastructure bill on the floor in the Senate, to our wonderful Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester. They have championed for us at the federal level. Governor Carney and others have worked really hard to make sure that the American Rescue Plan dollars, the ARPA funds, are being spent wisely, as will be the infrastructure dollars. I can tell you from experience, having served on the committee that oversees the infrastructure called Capital Bond Bill, I did that for 9 years. We have checks and balances in the state of Delaware. We have a lot of open processes, so businesses, folks listening in to the agenda can find out our open schedule to see where we're putting our monies. Senators Poore, Representative Heffernan last year had an incredible bond bill, the largest that we've had ever in the state of Delaware. And I think we feel it. I don't know about you, a little bit of construction takes a little more time getting around the state.
There are orange cones everywhere.
But good news, you and I have kids, we have children that need access to broadband. We're putting $110 million. Delaware has over $925 million in ARPA funds that we are addressing to get to the people, to their doorsteps, to their homes, to broadband, to the city of Wilmington, making sure housing funding is available, whether infrastructure to Riverside, ensuring that we have the dollars to where it really matters with children, and making sure that we have the infrastructure for education is critical in healthcare. And so I could go on.
The human infrastructure part of it
Yes.
is so important. And so many people think that it's just about shovel jobs, right? We're doing a lot with the roads and the transit systems here, which is great, but there's also a human side to this.
Yeah, there is a real human side. So again, my nephew, he had to take every bit of his classes. He had to get everything printed out, and his mom had to pick it up because he didn't have access to broadband in Western Sussex. Don't have any internet. So these are life-changing. Also, telehealth, really important. If you cannot access and you can't get into your doctor's office, having that internet connectivity is absolutely huge. And then again, making sure we have the housing structures. You've got to have a roof over your head. You've got to have clean water. A lot of money has been put into our infrastructure in the state, also around waterway. It's
drainage,
hugely important
absolutely.
in drainage. Again, clean water, #1 issue globally around the world. And in Delaware, we want to keep our infrastructure. And also, I'm a big proponent for healthy environment. Nothing more important than public health. It affects our cancer rates, affects our breathing and asthma. We have 40,000, actually 75,000, 40-some to 50-some adults, 20-some thousand kids who have asthma. Electric vehicles, having charging stations, all of these things are going to lower health risk in our state. So again, infrastructure dollars that come from Washington trickle to our states and are dispersed with our counties and municipalities, really important.
Well, I'm excited to hear that. I'm still on the edge about the electric vehicle. I still love horsepower. I'm still one of those guys, but I know
Get a
that it's for the
hybrid.
best.
Start with a hybrid. You'll like that.
We'll work on me. We'll work on me, okay?
I could see you driving one of those hybrid trucks or one of those nice leather sharp cars. I could see that.
Well, you're very positive, Lieutenant Governor. You're very positive.
I've actually had electric vehicle for almost 10 years. So
Wow.
hybrid saves a lot of gas. Let me tell you that, and saves the environment.
Well,
really good stuff.
I'm excited for what's to come in regards to infrastructure. I want to do a sneak peek on something. And I know that you have a big report that's coming out, and I don't want to catch you off guard. But in regards to early childhood development, this is one of your big things. Tell us a little bit about what's going on and what's to come.
Yes, and I hope you'll have me back. We will be releasing in the Department of Ed, also with my Hunt Institute partners. It's an institute that I belong to as a fellow, where we have looked at early childhood and laid out a strategic plan for the state. This is not just pre-K, like our 3 and 4-year-olds. This is birth to 5. These are the most important, impressionable days of our children's lives. You have 1,825 days to get it right when you're dealing with a young brain development.
I wish I would have known that number at that time. It explains so much later on.
It's a lot. And so if we can get that foundational wiring and equity is so important. As a public health nurse who spends her time on the streets of Wilmington, the streets of Dover, Seaford, Laurel, Rehoboth, when I go to a door, I want every child to have the same opportunities. And so we have to get it right, birth to 5. It's great that kids can graduate high school and go on to career or college or take the SAT, but it's equally important that when they enter kindergarten, that they have the tools and have addressed trauma. They may be living in a family with substance use disorder and other mental health challenges. That is why it's so important, early identification. So I'll be happy to come back and share with you when the report's released.
Absolutely, and if there's any inroads that, are we working side by side with the hospitals as well as, we're doing great things in government, but that communication stream there to ensure that there's a government hospital handshake, especially for these young folks, to ensure that they are being well taken care of and that there is equity in regards to their health care.
Excellent.
And all those other things are being taken into an account. What assurances do we have of that?
Well, first, I love the fact that you're married to someone in full disclosure who works in equity
Absolutely.
at Nemours Children's Hospital. Hospital systems are a foundation. Public health is a foundation. We have to be working together. And I'll give you an example in a moment, a clear example of where these efforts are happening, and that is with, I just happen to have, show and tell professor here, the Behavioral Health Consortium, where we have to ensure hospitals, public health clinics, federally qualified health services, not only during COVID, but before and after, are working hand in hand to address equity and trauma. You know, our First Lady has worked really closely with trauma-informed systems, with youth and family services, to really do early identification, and hospitals, whether it's Nemours or our pediatric clinics and referrals up and down the state, from BB to Tidal Health to Bay Health to Christiana. We have got to have a roadmap set for our children, and not just their physical health. You know, I want all of them to have healthy food. I want all of them to have exposure to healthy lifestyles, but to recognize their behavioral and mental health early on, because that is where it starts. And I have witnessed, as the chairperson of the Board of Pardons, the great impact of early juvenile interaction and success stories where we have hospitals, partners, others coming together to address children's needs. We can prevent a lifetime of costly lost opportunities. And so thanks to the agenda, and thanks to you, for helping to get the word out that there are resources for families. You know, you just got to dial 211. You dial that number, we can link families in to all types of services, our hospitals, our clinics. You just dial that number, 211.
Just 211, and it gives them information that they need to, I guess, help with the health of their family and gets them to.
And we have a hope line too, which I can tell you more about if you want.
Please do.
Yeah, we have a hope line in Delaware.
What is the hope line? I'm not familiar with that.
Well, the number first is 1-833-9-HOPE-DE, 1-833-9-HOPE-DE. And it can be 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. You know, you're feeling isolated, you're feeling anxious. We've had an uptick, unfortunately, of persons who have taken their lives by suicide. We want Delawareans to know during COVID that we're available. So the Hope Line is just one tool of many that the consortium has worked on over the past 3.5 years. Legislators, my office as lieutenant governor, the governor's office, we created a roadmap based on what came from the community. So actually, I've been thrilled to be, on the streets with city council members, other electeds, going door to door, making sure families are heard and that have access to treatment, both substance use disorder. So if someone's unfortunately had a back injury, got hooked to Percocet, and now finds themselves injecting with heroin or fentanyl, which is very deadly, we can get them help 24/7. Or we're embarrassed sometimes. It's okay not to be okay. Sometimes children and families suffer in silence, depression, anxiety. They don't have to. So they can dial our Hope line. And so we have a roadmap that's actually 90% of the recommendations in year 3 have been implemented, ranging from the first in America's overdose system of care to today. I was with the Opioid Settlement Distribution Commission with our Attorney General, where we're going to have $100 million over the next 15 years come into Delaware.
Oh, that's outstanding.
To really work on referral, prevention, and treatment and recovery for persons who have mental health or substance use disorder.
Auto accident, medical negligence, work injury. Contact Team Tice, your Delaware personal injury lawyers. Leroy Tice in Wilmington, Delaware, serving and supporting the people of Delaware. Call 302-489-2400. That's 302-489-2400. Online at teamtice.com.
Let DART do the driving. DART First State provides transportation that is clean, safe, reliable, and affordable. Plan your trip and get real-time bus information with the free DART Transit app. Scan your phone to pay your fare with the free DART Pass app. So what are you waiting for? Try transit today. Visit dartfirststate.com or call 1-800-652-DART.
So substance use disorder, substance abuse, Narcan, bringing it all down to where you have spearheaded an effort, so to speak, in regards to Narcan distribution that's going on.
Yeah, well, we have spent a lot of time, and the behavioral health report is not only about addiction, but it's about brain health. So we do cover autism to Alzheimer's.
Okay.
So I would encourage the listeners to check us out. So again, if you have a family member with Alzheimer's or a child with autism that's suffering, but our main thing is harm reduction right now, and how can we prevent overdose deaths? And the one thing every Delawarean needs to know is you can get this opioid kit for free. They will even mail them anonymously to your home, or you can contact my office, any public health state service center, or dial 211, or also the Hope line. We can get you a kit. And it's simple and easy. I encourage everyone to have one of these in their car, in their office. You can save a life. When a person overdoses with heroin, which is often laced with fentanyl, which is a bad thing, it makes us quit breathing, you can take a simple spray that we'll provide and we'll give you a little training on, and you just simply, like a nasal spray, spray it up the nose. That will allow the person to start breathing again, and during that time you would call 911. So again, if they're not responsive or they're stumbling, you know that they've injected, call. We'll make sure you get one of these kits. The most important thing is having help when they need it.
Right.
And we've been working through the years with Access and Treatment. Dr. Gibney, myself, Brandywine Counseling, and others, you've seen us out with a van. We've worked really hard to get a wraparound service so that when a person shows up, they get help when they need it. We have a whole technology platform that we've put in place with providers. So again, if the person is struggling and is ready for help in the moment, which years ago we weren't so sophisticated, we had a real problem. That has changed. So the listening audience, we have the resources. If you don't have insurance now, we can still help pay for you to get treatment. Too many Delawareans in the prime of their lives are dying.
It's horrible.
We've heard about COVID deaths, but we've had 447 deaths last year who are in the prime of their lives, who are somebody's mother, somebody's brother, somebody's sister. They had a name, they had a future that was cut short. And it's simple. An opioid kit can revive that person, help get them to treatment when they're ready. And so I would encourage folks to get those, and we stand ready, to support and make sure that we do well.
When it comes to opioid deaths, briefly, if you had the perfect world, where are our gaps? What could we be doing better as a state to help with this epidemic?
Really good points. And so if you go back to our Behavioral Health Consortium, we actually went to 600 Delawareans in the state and we asked that same question. Mm-hmm. What can we do differently? What can we improve on? Where are our gaps? Where are our strengths? And we found those in a fractured system where it wasn't easy. When sometimes you went in the emergency room, they didn't have a bid right away. We created a system where you could tell where the open bids immediately were and a person could go. We worked with Patrick and Amy Kennedy and our Department of Insurance Commissioner Navarro to get mental health parity, where we actually have fines set up on the insurance industry who was not providing the same level of coverage. Do we have more room to do? Yes, we do. But we've worked also with our Corrections and Law Enforcement Committee. We now have not only the Hero Help County program that they've had, but we have worked in the state to implement with our law enforcement in 4 different troops now across the state, soon the 4th troop, where we have persons who ride along who are mental health experts, who stand available, who are crisis trained, and working with the Attorney General's office with the Behavioral Health Consortium Law Enforcement Committee. We no longer are arresting everyone for low offense misdemeanors. So if they were caught shoplifting because of their habit, they can go into treatment. And so again, this is really important. And for families, oftentimes they overlook and they miss signs and symptoms of a family member struggling with a substance use disorder. And so I would encourage them to call 211, to reach out. We can go over some of those signs and symptoms and some of those resources, or the signs of mental health. You may have a revolting 15-year-old son who you just think is hormonal. But if he's raging and frequently banging walls and doing things that are tempering, that might actually be the sign of depression. Depression isn't always somebody crying. It can come in many forms. And so this consortium has tried to address the gaps where it was in law enforcement, some problems that we have had in actually getting in a bid in treatment and not having to send folks out of state. And we've worked really hard in prevention. And so I hope today, folks listening in, before they end up in a crisis mode or overdosing, will recognize through the agenda that they have a resource that they can turn to and they can get help immediately.
I'm so glad that you're out here and you're doing those things. It's oftentimes we don't believe that our political person, right, is actually doing what they're saying that they're going to do. And you are out here doing it, and I find that to be very, very warming. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And it comes with being the nurse. Thank you.
One question that I have, this is the agenda. This is the political side of everything in Delaware, the show, and we're based on politics. What is your goal moving forward in your political career? What's next?
The interesting part for my whole life has been I'm a servant. I was raised with a pastor on a farm in a community, and it was to give back. And so I have naturally moved from being a member of the House to a member of the Senate to being lieutenant governor, where I have been laser focused on each of those jobs when I'm in those positions. So right now, I've been laser focused on being the best lieutenant governor, chairing the Pardons Board, presiding over the Senate, making inroads in the community. But I will honestly tell you, as I look, if you were interviewing me in Dover, which is where I think we were originally going to do this interview, I would point to a wall behind me. And that wall behind me has lieutenant governors who've all moved on to governor.
Okay.
And so probably, if the future whims have their way, perhaps we will have my photo on that wall someday. However, today, January of 2022, very focused on my work as a lieutenant governor.
Great political answer. Well, we look forward to talking to you again on the agenda. We look forward to talking more about youth education and going over the report that you have. And thank you again so much for coming in and speaking with us.
Well, I appreciate you and to what you've done for the city and for our state now.
Absolutely.
And to the listeners. And thank you for having me, and look forward to coming back.
We'd like to thank Bethany Hall Long, our Lieutenant Governor in the great state of Delaware here, for joining us on the agenda. We look forward to seeing you next week.